everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Christina and today is a foundation review. So before I jump into the foundation review, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button. I do upload on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard, and I don't want you guys to miss out on any of my videos if these are interesting to you. So if you like makeup, Harry Potter, Project Pan, anything like that, hit that button and let's get into this. So it's been a really long time since I've done a foundation review on my channel, and honestly I feel rusty. So the foundation that we are reviewing today is the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. This is available on both Ulta and Colourpop's website. I ended up purchasing mine from Ulta for $16 USD. For the foundation you do get a full fluid ounce of product. It has a pretty decent shade range. I'm pretty impressed with the shade range. On Ulta's website there's 29 shades. As for this review as well, I wore it for an entire week. Actually, I've been wearing it over a week, but I basically tracked the first full week for you guys and let you know my thoughts on it. And I feel like this is a full-fledged better review that way. So the details of this foundation is that it's supposed to be hydrating, so if you have dry skin, this will be really good for it. As for my skin type, I don't think I have dry skin anymore. I just recently moved to Florida and I feel like the humidity has really helped. Also, your skin typically changes throughout the year. As you age, it changes periodically. So I think right now I'm leaning a little bit more combo. I still get dry patches right on my jawline and on my forehead, but I do get kind of oily right in my T-zone area. I tend to have the most oil production around my nose, which is a problem for me. But this foundation claims to be hydrating because obviously it has hyaluronic acid in it, which hyaluronic acid is something that draws moisture from the air to moisturize your skin, essentially is how it works. And the easiest way of explaining what hyaluronic acid is, that's what it does. It claims to be a buildable medium coverage, which I think I can actually agree with. You guys will see it when I apply it. I think it's a pretty good medium coverage and it can be built up, but overall it's still claiming that with a medium coverage it's still going to give you a natural skin finish, which you guys know is kind of my aesthetic. I don't like my skin to look overly cakey. This has both coconut water and hyaluronic acid in it to help keep your skin hydrated, but coconut water could be something that breaks people out, so if you are allergic to coconut water, definitely something you should stay away with. Same for hyaluronic acid. It seems silly to mention that, but you know, sometimes we don't know what's in foundation. So if you are looking to purchase this and you know you don't have great reactions to those two products, definitely this is a product to stay away from. It claims that this formula will last on your skin all day. They don't claim how many hours that is, because I mean all day for someone could be 4 hours. They don't give a number of hours that they plan, they just say all day, which do they mean 24 hours? I don't know. This is also a vegan and cruelty-free formula. It is also oil, alcohol, and fragrance free. As for the ingredients, I basically glossed over them because I'm not well versed in ingredients, but the first ingredient is water, so I'm under the impression that means this is a water-based foundation. Also, they said it was oil-free, so it's not an oil-based foundation in any way. It is a water-based foundation. So for your best bet, water-based primers will probably work the best with it, ideally, in theory. So that is basically all of the major specs that we know about this foundation. This is all of the information we are given, and now let's get into the packaging for a little bit and then I'll move into everyday of wear. So as far as the packaging, I actually kind of like the packaging. It's clean, sleek, and just simple foundation packaging. The actual bottle itself feels like hard acrylic, not glass, which I appreciate. I know glass technically is better because it's easier to recycle. Glass breaks down, you can break down glass multiple times and it keeps its integrity. Plastic, on the other hand, can only be recycled so many times before it's ultimately useless. So depending on how eco-conscious you are, that could be a con or a pro. It really depends on where you are and how you feel about it. The lid for this is also plastic and the pump is plastic, but it does come with a pump, which is nice. It tends to have the impression of frosted glass a little bit because it does seem to be a thick acrylic with like a foggy glaze over it. Does that make sense? A foggy glaze. That doesn't make sense, but you get what I'm saying. It has like a diffused kind of color to it, and then the actual logo on the front is nice. It's easy to read, very simple, clean packaging. Really like it. Now I did note that now my lid did already split a little bit, which is a little annoying, so this is something that I think will continue to happen throughout using it. It's a cheap plastic lid. I think eventually mine will completely crack and probably be useless, so that is also something to note, but it is a $16 foundation, so no major complaints, honestly. And now to get into the wear. As I mentioned, I did wear this for a full week. I am wearing it on my face today, And for the beginning part of the week, I used it without a primer and on its own. And now that I've been wearing it a little longer, I am a foundation mixer, so I do tend to mix my foundations. And I'll get into my combos later and let you know if I think they work well together. So on day 1, I tried this with no primer, which was honestly a mistake. I have said many times on my channel that I'm not sure if primers really do anything, but for this foundation, you need a primer, which is surprising to me. So I've been trying to test the theory that primers do anything. With this foundation, it looked the absolute worst on the day I didn't wear a primer. I ended up blending this with a brush and a sponge. I prefer the brush with it, and then I like to smooth it over with a sponge. That I think gives the best coverage and the best finish overall. It really depends on what you're going for. With a sponge, it's going to shear it out a lot. So if you want something really light, I feel like with a sponge, you're going to get light coverage. With a brush, you'll get medium to light, and then you can blend it with a sponge to take any excess off, which is typically what I do when I apply it. For the concealer, I used the Smith & Colt concealer with it the first day, and I do try some other concealers with it. I had no reaction with the concealers for this foundation. Everything seemed to work well with it. I used the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. It worked perfectly fine, blended in well, and I used the Smith & Colt V Concealer, which also worked really well. That's actually what I'm wearing today, and I just think it looks really nice. No issues with that. Also on day 1, I did not set it with powder, and I think that's another mistake. I think this foundation very much so needs a primer and a powder. As you can see in close-ups, it doesn't look very good at all, and you can see it sitting on my pores throughout the day. You can just see it further accentuating my pores, and it just didn't sit on my nose right. I do have a lot of issues with my nose. It has oil production. I have kind of rough texture on my nose. I really need to exfoliate, I know. Day 1, it wasn't looking good. I didn't think it was looking nice on my cheeks where I have larger pores. It just was not sitting in the way that I would want a foundation to sit. Day 1 was definitely a no-go for me. So on day 2, I ended up wearing it with a primer. I tried it with the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright primer. I always want to say powder. I don't know why. But I figured this one would do well because it's a water-based primer. Water is the first ingredient, but it does have silicones in it. It has dimethicone, so I was like, well, potentially this won't work well because it does have some silicones in it. It wore okay. I think it looks better with a primer, and I did powder a little bit this day as well, and I think it just overall helped. Now this day I did go out for a good bit, and I was wearing my mask. Also, it's humid in Florida, so I wore my mask and it completely rubbed off on all of the areas that my mask touched. It looked like hot garbage by the end of it, but I've mentioned this before, I have not found a way to wear a mask with a foundation and it not come off at least a little bit. This one was just a hot mess underneath my mask, and it was scary. By day 3, I was like, you know what, let's try something crazy. Let's try a pore filling primer. I was still having issues with it around my cheeks and my nose, and I just didn't like the way it was looking. So on day 3, I decided to go in with the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, which I thought could be a disaster because I think that's a silicone. I'm pretty sure that's a silicone based primer. Pretty sure. Could look it up. If you guys remember in my trying new makeup video, I wore the Colourpop foundation with the Pacifica primer. It was the Pacifica primer that was balling up. I was like, well, this could go horribly wrong. The silicone could react really badly to this foundation, but let's try it. On day 3, I honestly feel like it looked the best. I wore the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer and I powdered, and it honestly looked good for a long time. I think I wore it for almost 10 hours. I don't have any clips at the end of the night for any of these because like generally it didn't look bad. The only areas that I really noticed, especially on day 3, was around my nostrils, which I have an issue there. I produce a lot of oil in that area. I tend to get oily, but touching it up I figured would help. I did not do any touch-ups for the first 3 days. On day 4, I liked the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer so much. On day 4, I wore it again. This was the first day that I experimented with mixing the foundation. So on day 4, I did mix it with my Pore Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation. I don't know what happened to the lid. She's looking rough now. But I did mix it with this. It did a really, really nice job of mixing with it. I do think that it isn't the prettiest mixture that I tried, but overall it was still really nice. They worked well together. It created a nice finish, and it did last just as long as it did before. And I think just overall it looked really, really good. On day 5, I ended up wearing the Ole Henriksen primer again and the e.l.f. Poreless Putty, and that's a sensational combo. That's actually what I'm wearing today because I think it works the best. I end up putting the Poreless Putty on my large pores right here and the Banana Bright everywhere else, and that combo I think works incredibly well with this foundation. I also ended up powdering today and doing a different combo, which is the combo I've been wearing for the last couple of days trying this, and I think it's sensational. I take the Colourpop Pretty Fresh and the Covergirl Clean Fresh foundation. This mixture is just chef's kiss. It's really good. Again, what's on my face today, and you guys will be seeing close-ups of my skin in natural daylight right now, and it looks really nice. It looks smooth. It looks just beautiful. I set it with powder, and I just think overall it's really, really nice. It just wears really well. I am still having the issue of it coming off in my mask, but again, I don't think I found a good combo for it just not to. My mask rubs my face a lot. I think I just talk too much, honestly. I think I just moved my face too much. So I mean, I don't think it's like foolproof. I did also set it today with the e.l.f. setting spray. Overall, I just really like this foundation. It is so pretty. Now, the first couple days, of course, like I said, were kind of trial and error, and it just didn't look the best. But I think if you're looking for a hydrating, affordable foundation with a pretty decent shade range and easily accessible, I think this is a good option to go to. I really like the way it wears. I think overall you can definitely find a shade match really close to you, and it is affordable. And I think it works well with other foundation. So if you're like me and you want it to be a little bit more matte, I think it would honestly work mixing it with a matte foundation. You may have to play around with it. I don't own mini matte foundations to try that for you guys because it's just not what I gravitate towards. But the foundations I did try it with, really, really nice. For this being like my first foundation review back in a long time, I really enjoyed this foundation. It just was a pleasure to work with. I will definitely keep reaching for it. It's not currently in my everyday makeup container, but I think next month I'll pull it in because it just looks really nice. Definitely needs a primer and a powder, like I said, but beyond that, it's a good one. So that, guys, is my full comprehensive week wear review of the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation, and I hope you guys liked this kind of review style. I'm kind of playing around with some different things now. I'm feeling very creative lately, so I will be trying different review styles. Let me know in the comments if there's any foundations or any type of products you would love to see a review on of me trying it for a week. Let me know down in the comments. I'm basically open to try anything, so let me know down in the comments what you would like to see, and I hope you all are doing well and enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. Also make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and remember, there is always magic to be found, and I hope that means I see all of you guys in my next video. Bye!